Hey everyone, Melanie Muenchinger, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have a project for you using my A Year of Flowers set with the coordinating die set, as well as one of my best-selling frame sets, A Beautiful Life. So you can see this has tulips in each corner and this huge round oval that is wonderful for framing up sentiments, other images, photos. What I love about this frame especially is that you have these open corners here that you can add other images to. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be adding some of the die cut blooms using these tulips to layer over this frame. So I'm really excited now that we have the dies, but also to show you how easy it is with the die cuts to add different blooms from this set using those die cuts. I looked through my YouTube channel and I noticed that this is the only frame set that I do not have any videos for yet. That's probably because we recently replated this to clear. So now that I have the clear version in hand, I'm going to be building up a lot of videos in that library to support this set for ideas and inspiration for you, because it is just so versatile. And as with my other frame sets, it can be used in portrait or landscape style. The other products that we're going to be using on today's card, I have got a piece of Gina K Pure Luxury Heavy Base Weight White. This is 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4 1/4. And then you're also going to need just a piece of scrap cardstock for cutting out those layered blooms. The ink pad that I'm using today, I've got the Memento Tuxedo Black. It's just a nice crisp black and it's great for coloring with alcohol markers. The markers that I'm using today, I've got the Spectrum Noir DR4 and DR6 for the tulips, the IB2 and IB3 for the borders and the other flower we're adding, the CG2 and the DG3 for the stems and leaves, and then a GG2 for adding some shadows under the flowers. You're going to need a large block or a MISTI for stamping out that frame. So this frame is approximately 4 by 5 1/4 inches, so it fits just perfectly on this grid line block. Then I've also got a smaller block that I'm going to be using to stamp those flowers into my die cuts. Here is the set of dies. We've got some foam squares that we're going to be using. I'm using 2 different thicknesses today. One of these is from Scrapbook Adhesives and the other is from ThermoWeb. They're both adhesives that Gina K sells. And it's kind of nice when you're doing a dimensional scene to have 2 different thicknesses of foam, because then you can have the different blooms in the foreground, middle ground, and background on that stamped layer. And then the die cutting machine that I'm using today, I've got the Cuttlebug just because it's small and easy to bring into my recording space. And then we've got the white thick base plate, the C plate, and the B plate. So this is the thicker and then the thinner clear plates you're going to be using. And then I just have an extra piece of cardstock for a shim. So let's begin by stamping out our frame, and then we'll do our coloring and our die cutting. So I've got my card here, but I want to wait to fold it just so that I have it nice and flat for when I'm stamping so it doesn't pop up. And I'm just going to ink this up all over with my Memento Tuxedo Black pad. And I want to try to go around the edge and make sure that that pad is going across 2 planes of the stamp to keep it from going into the middle. So we can clean this stamp, but it's just always easier to try to avoid getting ink down into the large open spaces. So I'm really just concentrating on the edge. And I want to make sure that I just get all those borders so that there's no skips. This frame looks beautiful embossed, by the way. I'm going to have a lot of different videos showing this. This was also in my book, Fabulous Stamp Frames. Now I'm going to pick this up real quick and just tilt it in the light and make sure that I see that all areas are inked. You can see that they're black and shiny. If you tilt it, I see a couple places that I just wanted a little bit more ink, and then we're going to stamp it. So this can be a portrait or a landscape card, and you can see that I've got the flowers in a slightly different orientation on each corner. So that's going to make a difference whether you are having a sentiment, just how big or how large it is, if that's going to work better for your tulips that are open to be in that corner or in that corner. What I'm going to do, since it's been a second since I have inked this up, I'm just going to do what's called huffing. And that's just kind of just expelling some air onto your stamp just to kind of reactivate that ink from the heat from your breath. Okay, So I'm just going to put this over the card. I'm not measuring, I'm just looking to see that the borders are about the same on each side. If you're really particular about it, you can use the MISTI. So I'm just going to drop that down and press all over, and then carefully lift it up. And clear stamps kind of stick a little bit, so I always hold it so I can pull it away. So we've got this nice image here. There's a tiny bit there that you might want to touch up with your black pen if that bothers you. I'm going to color this in now, but I don't need to color all the flowers because some of them are going to be covered by my layer blooms. So I'm going to go in first with this lighter green, the CG2, and I'm just going to quickly color in these stems and the leaves. And A Year of Flowers is one of my easiest sets to color. There's so many nice contour lines in it that really show you where the shadows go, and with the details, it's not hard to fill it in. Okay, and then we're just going to go back in with the darker green. And we can cut out leaves for this as well, but since these are such small areas, I'm just focusing on putting in the flowers today. Now I'm going to take the two different blues. So these are very similar to each other, but I thought it would be pretty to pull in the colors that I'm going to be using on the flowers into my border, but you might choose to use contrasting ones on yours, or just not color them in at all. But I just really like to color these because it looks like you've got 4 layers on your card instead of 1 when you have these different borders and different colors like cardstock. So I'm using the lighter blue on the outer frame, and then I'm going to use this darker blue, the IB3, on the oval. And I love the bullet tip on this marker. It's nice for tight, small areas like this thin border. Okay, and then you're going to want to decide which way you want to orient your card, whether you want it to be portrait or, landscape or portrait style before you add your shadows. So let's have it going this way. And so I'm going to take this GG2 marker, and I'm just going to go under as if the light is coming from the top left and casting a shadow down onto the right. And you can put some here, but the layered blooms that we're going to be putting on here with our die cuts are going to do that for us. Okay? All right, now let's go ahead and I'm going to do just a little tip-to-tip coloring because this green is much darker than my lighter green. So what we do in this case, we take our lighter marker in the hand that we color with, our dominant hand, and we're going to lift just a little bit of this darker ink onto the tip and just pull that down into our stem. And then you get a nice blended look. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of this on the underside of this leaf. And see, as you color out, the darker color that you picked up on your lighter marker is just going to fade right out. And again, it's just the lighter color of the marker. Now you can put this directly on and then go back and fill it in or blend it with your blender pen or with the slider marker, but this is just kind of a faster way, and it produces really nice results. So I love tip-to-tip coloring. You'll see that on a lot of my other videos. And it really cuts down how many markers you need to have or have out on your desk. Okay, so we've got this colored now. Let's do some die cutting here of our images. So we're going to cut some of these tulips and then some of this flower. And I drew these from real life flowers, but I didn't know what it was. So a lot of times I refer to it as a pansy or maybe like a periwinkle or an impatient. I don't know, but I love the flower. All right, so we're going to set this down, and this is going to secure it to our work surface, but I've got it on a mat, so it might move a little bit. So we're going to start with our base plate, and then I'm going to use my C plate And then we're going to put our cardstock and our dies on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the tulip and the flower, and I think I'm going to go ahead and instead of saving space like I did on the first card where I cut out a bunch from one piece of paper, I'm going to lay them out so that I can use this on another card, which like you saw in my last video. So check that one out to see how you can use this negative piece for another card later. So I'm going to lay this on top. Remember, the cut side is down on top of that cardstock. And then I'm going to place my shim on here and then just roll this through. And when you hear the click, that's a good sound. It means that it cut through your paper. Okay, so now I can go back and put a stem and leaves on here and then stamp something underneath, and I have this really cool mat for another card. Okay, I'm just going to do those two because I have more to do here and I've got some already cut. So then what we want to do is we want to take our smaller acrylic block and these flowers, so I've got the tulip and then this flower, and we're just going to stamp these right into the die cut. So if you prefer, you can do your stamping first and then cut around it. I just prefer doing my stamping afterwards just in case the die shifts. And there's lots of ways to prevent that, but this is just the quickest way for me. So we're just going to layer that over it until you see that border kind of disappear so it's even on all the sides. Nice tight fit for that. Just looks so custom. And then we're going to stamp our tulip. So I have a couple other pre-cut here just since we were cutting out multiples of that one image and I didn't want to have to keep doing multiple passes. I've got lots of other tulips over here for us. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and color this. So I'm going to take my DR4 and I'm just going to fill this in, and you can leave some white at the top if you want. I love how tulips sometimes have that beautiful kind of gradient or ombre in their coloring, but I'm just going to fill this whole thing in with a lighter red, and then I'm going to just do some flicking strokes with this darker DR6. It's kind of a burgundy, and I'm going to focus this on the bottom of this tulip, and then you can put this in the folds there. Okay, very simple to color. All right, then the way that I want to color this flower is I'm going to do the lighter IB2 all over it. And you don't even have to color this all the way to the edge. Like I said, with flowers, a lot of times they have a paler outside or sometimes a paler inside, like a Morning Glory. So you can keep that really loose and you don't have to worry about going right to the edges. And then I'm going to take this IB3 and I'm going to concentrate this here where you see all those lines in the middle. You have all those folds and it's cupping in so it's darker. And then you can just do some flicking strokes out to the edge. So very easy to color. And then if you want to put a little bit of this lighter CG2 green in the middle of that. All right, so these are going to layer just right on top of our flowers. So you can do all tulips or you can add this flower like I said. So let me go ahead and I'm going to color one more of these the same way. And then we want to pick out our greeting. So a lot of times I have a finished card to show you at the beginning. I just couldn't decide what I wanted to do. So I decided I would just put it together here. So in A Beautiful Life, you have all kinds of large greetings here, sentiments that can go on the inside of a card for sympathy or for weddings, but then also greetings that work around this big, beautiful sentiment. So I think I might do You Make Life Beautiful, but you just want to think about, you know you have this entire space if you're just doing the tulips, but you're going to have a little bit less room if you're adding larger flowers. So that's just something to consider that I want to point out. So kind of lay out where you want your flowers to be, and then just stamp accordingly the greeting. Anything will work with it. You just have to just kind of lay it out to space it. So you might want to use a Misty. Okay, so we've got these two. And then I think what I want to do, so let's lay this out. So I kind of want to have these flowers opposite, I think. Actually, One here. And then one here. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do, let's try this like here. It's going to look different every single way that you do it. I think I'm going to put this one down here. All right, so I'm not going to layer this one. I'm just going to do this right on my background. So quickly, I'm going to fill this in with this DR. Did I grab the wrong one? Okay, I did the darker one here. And then I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to layer this again since I grabbed the darker one on the bottom. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and layer these. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put one of these black squares on this. So that's going to cover that up. And then I'm going to do some white squares on this one. So that's going to be our highest level. And then this one. But before I stick them down, I want to go ahead and add my greeting. Okay, so I might actually end up doing, I think I'm going to do a wedding one, wishing you a beautiful life together. You can see I've also got a butterfly here, and there's so many different places you can stamp this or layer this. I'm sorry, I forgot to turn off my computer before I started, so you're hearing my little alerts there. It's kind of trying to figure out where it was coming from. Okay, so I'm going to put this just right in the middle. Wishing you a beautiful life together. Okay, and then we'll stick these on, and then we're done. And again, just imagine if you want to put these out here, if you wanted to layer in more leaves or stamp in more leaves, you can do that with masking. So there's just a lot of different options for this set. And I love that it gives you the opportunity, if you want to change up the season, it looks like a very spring summer set with these tulips, but because you have all those different flowers in the Coordinating a Year of Flowers set, you could put in sunflowers for fall. You could just cover these leaves up entirely and do the poinsettias if you wanted. So a lot of different opportunities there. Okay. And that's it. And then you just fold it up and the card is complete. And then if you want to layer on some bling or some glitter or anything, you can do that as well. But very easy. So I'm so excited about having these dies. Please visit my channel and subscribe so that you can see more ideas for this A Beautiful Life frame set, and then of course my best-selling A Year of Flowers set. Thank you for watching today. Please visit our blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, and Stamp TV for more ideas and inspiration using all of our stamp sets from Gina K Designs. Thanks for watching today. God bless.